What is your secret that you can't tell anyone, because it will probably ruin your life? Story 1. My brother is the product of a grape. My mom told me. I don't know if she told him. She's passed away now. When she told me her secret, suddenly my entire life and childhood made sense. Because of her trauma, she raised us from a place of fear. She never really received the proper mental health care she needed. Whenever she felt scared or unsafe, we would move. I lived in 10 apartments by the time I graduated high school. Story 2. I'm 40, and my parents have no idea that I never actually graduated college. I went for almost 6 years and never felt like I really knew what I was doing. School wasn't necessarily hard for me, but I just couldn't bring myself to focus or be dedicated to it. My parents were super obsessed with the idea that everyone needs a degree to get a decent job, so there was a ton of pressure, and dropping out wasn't an option. So, I graduated in a winter semester and decided not to walk the stage, since the December ceremony was always pretty small, and I knew they wouldn't think that was weird. This happened to be during the recession in the 2000s, so I had an excuse for not finding a conventionally professional job right after that. Now, I actually have a really good job with a company that focuses on hiring people based on experience, skill, and personality. So it turns out I didn't even need that degree. But I will never tell my parents the truth. Story 3. I caught a guy graping a girl yelling for help in a tent at a very loud bush party in my university days. I was drunk myself, and I ended up blacking out with rage and beating him up with his pants around his ankles so bad that he was put in a coma for a couple of days. I never saw any consequences other than probably a broken knuckle. Nobody witnessed anything, and I got off scot-free. The girl in the tent definitely wasn't going to say anything. From his Facebook, it looks like he is a happy and healthy father of 2 now. He doesn't know who I am, but I think I came very close to killing someone with a rock caveman style that night. Story 4. 5 years before my stepdad died of Alzheimer's and leukemia, I noticed he was very quiet in the evenings when I visited him and my mom. I asked him, "Why don't you want to talk a bit more?" To which he responded, "If I don't say anything, I can't say anything wrong." After he died, I realized why he said what he said. I was at lunch with them when he tried to ask me something but put in completely wrong nouns, nonsense choices. And every time he did that, my mom started laughing and said, "Ha ha ha, now you've totally gotten things weird." She didn't know she was being condescending because she didn't know he was getting advanced dementia. None of us knew then. And she just brushed his mistakes off as being silly mistakes. She couldn't know it shamed him so much that he stopped talking, since he didn't trust his words anymore, nor his sense of balance. I will never ever explain this to my mom, not even if I am super angry. I would do unretractable damage to my relationship with her, she mourned him deeply. Story 5. My childhood friend has 2 siblings that he doesn't know exist. They're twins, around 2 years old now. I promised to keep it a secret. My dad and his dad are close friends. My dad is quite the gossip, and spilled every last detail to me. Apparently their father, handsome, tall, a sports prodigy, slept with a doctor who lied about being on birth control so that she could give birth to his children, who she claimed had superior genetics. She was his former doctor who pulled up his private records in order to score a date with him as she had all his contact info at hand. Never wanted child support or even a father in her kids' lives. Just an involuntary sperm donor. Very weird. Story 6. I left my job at an electronics manufacturing company in 2002, but they continued paying me my full salary, including all incremental raises and annual bonuses, until they offered me a very generous redundancy package in 2022 due to departmental restructuring, including an £85,000 lump sum contribution to my pension fund. I even got the quarterly magazine and annual Christmas card sent to me. In March of this year, 2023, I got an invite to the 75th anniversary of the company, went along, had a great time at the free bar, and nobody realized I hadn't worked there for over 20 years. You've got to love a good administrative error. Story 7. That I'm dying. Gonna sit on that one for as long as I can. The deal is, I have HIV, have done for a long time, and though it was pretty gnarly at the start, it was mostly just annoying once it was under control. Last year, though, I started getting sick a lot, and, well, turns out my meds aren't working so good no more. Neither did the next set, and the current set seems like it's going the same way. Of course, there's a chance one of the meds coming up will work fine, and I'll be back to normal. But as things stand, My out-of-control viral load and plummeting T-cell count probably put my lifespan in single-digit years. It's not as dramatic as a mere month stage 4 cancer diagnosis. And of course I still might wiggle out of it if we find a med that works, but, yeah, it's a thing. As for the telling my loved ones, well, most of them don't know that I have HIV in the first place, so that's an extra sticking point. I did not tell them at the start because I was ashamed. It was more that I just thought that I would end up being the one doing the reassuring and educating. And honestly, after surviving the early times, I just didn't have the energy for it. And yes, I know that it's coming back to bite me now. But aside from that initial awkward talk, I just don't know how long this will take. And the doc still might find something that works, and I won't be dying at all. And then I'll have turned my life upside down for nothing. I won't let it get right up to the end without telling anyone. I just don't want to do it all for such a flimsy, maybe not. Especially when even the worst-case scenario will probably take years. I'll let them all know when the writing is properly on the wall, okay? I don't even know why I put it on here. I guess getting my dog blood work back last week before going to family dinners and listening to my siblings making all their awesome long-term plans just left me feeling a bit bleak. To those of you that said kind words, thank you. To those who said less than kind words, I'm sure you're still lovely most of the time. Play nicely with each other. Story 8. About 11 years ago, I contacted my estranged father. We had become estranged due to the fact he abused my older sister when we were children. We sent some emails back and forth, and I lied that I was doing a college degree and needed help with tuition and costs. He must have sent me about £50,000 in 3 years. He found out it was a lie as he emailed the uni I said I went to, asking for a receipt for tax purposes, and I blocked him and never spoke to him again. That £50,000 was spread between me, my siblings, and my mom when we were in financial difficulties, and I played it off as winning big in an online casino. I don't feel an ounce of guilt, but I'm not sure if my family would understand what I did. The man didn't pay any child support when he and my mother divorced about 12 years before this, so I feel justified in scamming him. My wife knows, and she's agreed to keep my secret. Story 9. When I was a kid in elementary, I was molested by one of the tutors at my school, and said nothing happened when confronted about it by school officials. I had a lot of problems with learning when I was growing up, so I often needed extra help. The elementary school had people come in as tutors for kids, and we'd all get like an hour once a week to catch up on things we didn't understand in class. My tutor there was this young guy, and at first I thought he was one of the coolest people I could ever meet. He would tell stories about going on cool hiking trips, scuba diving, and even running in a marathon. He'd bring snacks all the time, and once even brought me a diary of a wimpy kid book, and I couldn't help but look up to him. Things got weird after a few weeks, and it started with him becoming super touchy, but I didn't mind. I looked at him like a cool older brother. It eventually got to the point where I knew it wasn't normal, and I began to feel awful when I was around him. He would tell me to give him massages because his body hurt, and my touch would help him. To make everything short and nondescript, I touched places a child definitely should not touch. One day I got called to the front office and they asked me strange questions regarding his teaching style. I think they noticed I wasn't actually improving in any of my classes. The next day I was called in again, but he was there too. Essentially, they were confronting me about not getting better at reading or basic mathematics. His demeanor changed in this setting. He told them I wasn't trying hard enough and that I might have a disorder like ADHD. I didn't look at him the entire time, and I felt like crying because I was disappointing the adults in my life. They even talked about telling my mom. After he left, I think the counselor noticed how weird I was and asked me if Mr. Insert last name treated me badly or did things adults shouldn't do. I lied immediately, without thought in my head. If I told them, then I'd get in trouble too, or they would have thought I was gay. She took my word, and I left the next week. When I saw him again, he was an entirely different person. He was much quieter and passive-aggressive. In fact, he pretended he barely knew me when he had been tutoring me for almost the entire year. After that year, he switched schools, and I never saw him again. No one knows what happened, and I was convinced my family members would call me gay if I told them or even punish me for letting something like that happen. I didn't have the greatest childhood. We were struggling and I had no father, so I didn't have the luxury of a decent male figure in my life. I'm currently in therapy, and I'm contemplating telling my therapist because I'm having some issues with my sexuality and I'm not coping in the safest ways. But I still feel bad because I really did think he was the coolest man I've ever met in my childhood, despite what happened. Story 10. I'm a nurse. I take care of people for a living. IRL, I can't even take care of myself. My house is literally falling apart because I was super depressed and let the little things turn into big things. My only hope is that the whole thing just collapses or something. I've tried to end my life 15 times. I'm fine now. It's been years since I felt that way. But I'm pretty sure the board of nursing looks down on that many attempts. I'm broke. I make good money now. But before I was a nurse, I lived well below the poverty line. I still have debt up to my eyeballs that I'm trying to dig myself out from under. I wish bad things to happen to my ex. I love my life now, but he ruined it for a long time. The ways he hurt me and my family left their marks forever. I'm very funny and outgoing at work. My patients love me, but I'd rather sit silently at home. So, nothing too crazy, but maybe enough to lose my livelihood, thus ruining my life. Story 11. While addicted to meth, I accidentally got caught up working for a gang in my hometown. They were just having me smurf and collect money for them, but by the time I realized what they were all about, they weren't about to let me just stop working. So I kept doing it until I was able to leave my hometown and make it out to Tampa. The things I got involved in while working with them could put me in prison for 20 years. Most of my family think I lived a pretty normal life back then, but they have no idea how easy it is to get involved with big-name dealers in a town with such a high cartel presence. Story 12. After fleeing domestic violence and trying to make a new life, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I'm fighting it, but I'm just so tired of life. My last baby turns 18 this week, and I feel like I've done all I'm supposed to. I'm sick of being strong for everyone else when all I want to do is go. I'm just so damn tired. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video.